So welcome back to Suavecito Vintage Drums, and today we're going to be talking about my biggest drum wrap fail. There's this drum shop in LA, Ventura Music. It's not in Ventura, it's I believe in Studio City, but anyhow, doesn't matter. Ventura Music is owned by a really nice guy. His name's George. I had store credit, or every once in a while I'd go in there looking for vintage drums, vintage parts, whatever it is that I needed to finish. And one day he said, "Hey, dude, I have all these shells in here. They're all the same era, which is between like 60. I think it was between like 64 and like 68. They're all the same era with the white interior shells, mahogany, poplar mahogany, and it's more than enough to like build your own set." So I took them. They were in pretty rough shape. Some of them had they needed a lot of work. Here, in fact, they needed a lot of work. So, I'll include pictures. The wrap had been removed from all of them. A couple of them looked like Swiss cheese, but I took them anyway. I said, you know what? I've always wanted to build like a monster set for myself or have one, but they're too expensive. Why don't I just build my own, and it'll be something that I can keep. And being that I knew these shells had just a lot of holes in them, they needed a lot of work, but the bones were good. I knew that I was gonna have to, that they were gonna have to be totally custom. That way I could, because they're gonna be mine. They're like a forever drum kit for me. So I looked around, and I normally order all my drum shells, my drum shell wraps from Precision Drum in New York, which I 100% will tell everyone to do. I know there's a lot of discount companies out there, but you get what you pay for, right? So anyhow, so I contacted this other company, which will remain nameless. And I said, "Hey man, I have a 12, a 13, a 22, a 16, and an 18. I need some wrap." And their whole shtick is that they don't glue them, they tape them. So the guy was like, "Okay, well, they were really good, super professional, super nice." They said, "Hey, just send us the information, but subtract," I think he said, 1/8 of an inch from the height of the drum, or from the end of the drum. So I said, "Well, they're like, for example, this one is 18 by 16. He's like, "Well, we don't cut them down to 16. We make sure we cut them down exactly to a specific measurement. So you have to, I guess, subtract 1/8 of an inch from either side or whatever it was, and then they'll cut it." And I said, "Well, I don't want to do that. I just want you to cut them 16 by 18 because I'm going to glue them." And the guy, being a really good salesman, kept telling me, "Hey man, like, don't worry about it. Just give me that measurement. This will be just as good as if it were taped. I'm sorry, as if it were glued down, And I'll never forget this. He said, "That's what all the modern companies are doing." And I knew he was full of shit. But I was like, man, all right, dude. He sold me on it. But deep inside, I was like, "Nah, man, I like wrapping them and gluing them. I don't want to use tape because only low-end drums use tape." And we all know that vintage drums, for example, aren't perfectly round, especially the ones that are the 3-ply that have where the wrap is actually part of the wrap. And how that works is this. So between the second ply, the middle ply, which is a poplar, and the outer ply, which is mahogany, Ludwig would sandwich the wrap between those two plies. I don't know, maybe about 5 inches or so. And then they'd glue it, and then they continued gluing all the way around so that the wrap became part of the drum. A little bit of a hack here. If you're buying a vintage drum and they're telling you it's the original wrap, but you're not too sure, what you can do is you can remove the head and then look at the top of the seam, or at the top of the drum head, and you can see if it's the original wrap. You will see a continuous wrap from inside the shell, or if it's not an original wrap, you'll see a break, and that'll tell you if it's an original wrap or not. Anyhow, so I brought him, I got him home. I was super excited. The wrap itself is beautiful. And the reason why I'm showing the 18 is because this is the one that gave me the absolute most issues. I built it and I came back to it like 2 or 3 days later after I had put the head on it and tuned it. And I noticed that I had a bulge right around here. So I was like, what the hell, man? So it's binding. Okay, so I went out and replaced the heads on them and got the larger fitting heads, and it was still binding. And then I realized the reason why it's doing that is because there's an air gap between the shell and the wrap. So no matter how tight you pull it, there's still going to be a tiny air gap, and that is causing it to bind, which is causing it to mess my wrap up. But by then I was just like, I'm 5 drums into this and I'm noticing these little issues as I go, and I'm kind of losing my mind. I'm thinking back to the conversation that I had with the sales rep. He's like, oh man, these are amazing. If you don't like them, you can return them. But I was just so incensed. I was like, look, man, I'm going to return these to get the same shitty product back. I might as well just keep what I have. And I do believe it's a shit product for vintage drums. For new drums, I think they work great. But for vintage, you need to have them glued down and they need to be precision. Let me show you what I had to do to make it work. And I ended up actually screwing this up because I ended up cutting too much off. But here, let me show you. But this one's actually clear on the inside, right? Okay, so as you can see here, I recut all my bearing edges myself. I was very happy. I recut them, I sanded them down, life was good. I put the wrap on, and dude, look at this terrible wrap. You see all those air gaps right there between the shell? Right there? That is what ruined this drum. That is what ruined this drum set for me. And I ended up gluing some of these down, like on this 12, the 13. I ended up using glue on all of them except for the 18. And look how terrible. I mean, if I paid for this, I'd be irate. Look at that. If I had a shop do this for me, I'd be pissed to all hell. So this is what I ended up with. And then, not to mention, these guys kept raving about how amazing their the glue was and how it works amazing. Look at this crap work, guys. I don't want to mention the name, but I think you guys all know who this is, right? Because they're really well known for this type of like tape down method. But look, it's all peeling, man. It's all peeling. Look at that. It's peeling. I paid hundreds of dollars for this wrap for all 5 drums, and look, that's terrible, man. And then because of that, I had to cut it and trim all the way down. So this is probably the best lesson I've ever learned in drum restoration. The good thing is that this was my drum that had happened to my set, and which is why I decided to use it, because I wanted to use it on something that was mine before using it on something that someone's paying for. And what I learned from this is I will never use this manufacturer again, and I will never tape it down ever again, because, guys, it fucking sucks. Excuse my language. But as you can see, look. This stuff's supposed to be glued down. These guys I kept insisting that I didn't want tape, that I wanted to glue them down myself. And they're like, no, man, this is the way to go. This is the way new companies do it. Me knowing full well, I've owned 2 brand new DW drums that were incredible. I've owned a lot of drum sets in my life, and I can tell you this, man. There is not one quality drum set out there where they tape them. They're all glued all the way down if they have a wrap for this type of a reason. So, guys, if you learned anything from today, and this is not paid for by anybody, Precision Drums are where you want to get your wraps from. They're out in New York. It's a little bit more, but you definitely get what you pay for. Once again, guys, if you'd like to see the rest of the drums that ended up finishing it, and they look great, like I said, I'll post a picture of what they look like from far away. Do yourself a favor. If you are going to wrap your own drums, start off small. Start off with a snare. You can watch Sean's Drum Cave, SDC. Check out his channel. He has a phenomenal one on wrapping drums. I'm ordering some more so I can rewrap the 18. I'm gonna wrap a 20 so I can have and I'm hoping to find a 14. If I can't find a 14, what I'll end up doing is I'll probably go to Nordic Drums and order a 14 shell from them, and then just add it to this kit. And that will end up having, once the 20 and the 14 are done, it'll be an awesome kit. Like it'll be a kit that, you know, I'll never play as one, but you know, I can take it and break it up into all kinds of different configurations, which is kind of like what I always wanted. I just think it'd be super cool to have my own shell bank. Guys, please like, subscribe, and share these videos with anybody else that you think might dig it. And once again, this was my biggest drum fail. 5 drums, guys. I screwed up 5 drums. But live and learn, right? I've wrapped every drum prior to that with glue. And after this, I've done a few more drums, and those are just completely wrapped in glue, so I don't have this issue, because I'm actually embarrassed to take this 18 out. You guys have a great one, and thank you for your support.